Good afternoon and welcome to the Federal Executive Forum celebrating 17 years of profiling excellence in government IT mission programs. I'm Luke McCormack. During today's show, we will discuss best practices with machine learning and artificial intelligence strategies in the federal government. With me on today's show are Major General John Olson, Department of the Air Force Chief Data and AI Officer, Tim Persons, Chief Scientist and Managing Director, Science, Technology, Assessment, and Analytics, U.S. Government Accountability Office. Jeffrey Phelan, Public Sector Growth Lead, H2O AI. Saeed Massoud, Federal Systems Engineer, Fortinet Federal Incorporated. And Paul Dillahay, President and CEO, Empower AI. We are talking artificial intelligence. We are talking machine learning. And we have an interesting title for the general here. You typically don't see Chief Data Officer and AI Officer in the same subject, but it certainly makes sense. Tell us how that, the origins of that, and tell us the state of both of those topics at the Air Force.
Well, thank you. It's really an exciting opportunity for us. Of course, this is the first time that we've had a Chief Data and AI Officer for the Department of the Air Force. We've got a $194 billion enterprise portfolio that's really focused on airspace and cyberspace. And, given that about 80 to 85% of AI ML readiness is really data wrangling and mungling and formatting and metadata tagging and cleansing and data integrity validation, this is a synergistic partnership. So we put those two together to advance the missions of the Department of the Air Force and the broader Department of Defense. So this is the first year. I'm the first person to hold this position, but we're working very closely also with the new Office of Secretary of Defense, or OSD, CDAO, and their acronym is the Chief Digital and AI Office. But together we implement and amplify those broader DoD objectives and initiatives, and we're really excited about the work that we've been doing all year and so much more to come.
It's certainly an interesting combination, and when you don't typically see it in the title, but once you start to talk about it, it certainly makes a lot of sense. Tim, you are the Managing Director of the Science and Technology. I often think about GAO, and obviously they're imparting wisdom and information to the members. What actually does the Science and Technology and Assessment organization do? And then how does the AI piece fit into that?
Yeah, thanks, Luke. So great to be here this morning with you, and especially with these esteemed colleagues. My team at GAO is focused on really the what I call the three ITs: the oversight, the insight, and the foresight with respect to all things science and technology. So GAO is classically known as the watchdog for the Congress. And so we're the nonpartisan, fact-based, non-ideological analysis and oversight, the audit arm for the legislative branch. And that is certainly something we do in terms of overseeing science and technology issues and programs. But also, really, if you believe the adages we do, that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, we really do a lot in the technology and science foresight space. And so what that means is we're looking prospectively at technologies, especially something as disruptive as AI. And that sounds like a negative term, but sometimes it's just change for the sake of how we need to do our mission. And so we both oversee AI issues in the federal government, and we're practitioners of AI, especially on my team with respect to our digital sciences and digital services oriented innovation lab. So we are doers, analyzers, and then foresighters with respect to AI because it is so transformative. So looking across all federal programs, and then also doing it ourselves just to improve the mission of oversight for Congress.
Certainly, and when your organization is doing the tech foraging and getting a lot of that insight, perhaps there is some regulations that need to be associated to that. So we're delighted to see that you all are on the forefront of examining that technology. Jeffrey, H2O AI, somewhat new to the public sector, but certainly not new to AI. There's been some heavy lifting going on there for quite some time. Give us a sort of a top line state of the state.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. Yeah, we're really one of the pioneers in this space. We've been around since 2012. And to Tim's point, we're real practitioners. We're data scientists that are in there every day, really working through the practical physics of wrangling data and then really getting insight out of it. We're the largest provider of open source software in the world for AI and ML. And so typically in the commercial space, anywhere there's $1 billion analytics problem, there's a very good chance that H2O AI is running under the hood. So we really have a very practical understanding of the physics of the environment, what's going on, digital transformation. We tend to red pill our partners and customers a little bit so they have realistic expectations in terms of how to make this an enterprise capability. And I think to the general's point, once you get through all the data wrangling, you now have business leaders and data scientists and engineers that are all really trying to impact the mission now. And so from our perspective, we're experts in getting into production. 8 of the 10 largest banks in the world are using us, and particularly in areas where you have real-time sensor and data requirements. So this is an area we've just stood up our public sector practice about 9 months ago. Mm-hmm. And what we're trying to do is bring best practices into the mission space, but really do that with a lot of very, very practical experience, over 10 years of experience, where we can help level set expectations and communicate with all the stakeholders within the organization. Because as you're building trust and capability, you've got to make sure everyone's on the same page, the confidence levels there. And this is something that we feel we can really be very helpful with.
8 of the 10 banks certainly appreciate the fact that heavily regulated industry there, which I think helps sort of as you sort of port and migrate your way into the public sector. No question, I'm sure you're involved with many of the other regulated sectors as well. So it seems like a nice fit. And we're glad to see that capability is making its way into some much needed use cases. Paul, let's talk about Empower AI and sort of how you fit into this picture.
Sure. Thanks, Luke, and good morning, and appreciate the opportunity to talk to you on behalf of the Empower AI team. We are a 33-year-old company, and much to what Jeffrey was just saying, our focus is on operational AI, meaning that we're here to try and enable our customers solve some of their most critical problems and elevate them, leveraging machine learning, robotic process automation, and natural language processing, and other solutions. We've been investing in AI for 5 years, and our business model is a little different than the traditional model I think that folks have. So we sell our solutions as AI as a service. We bundle up the technology with the domain expertise, and then the configuration and deployment, and then ongoing maintenance and metrics and monitoring of the solutions, all in one easy purchase. But really, the beauty of that model is it's simplistic for our customers to acquire. They don't have to deal with a product vendor, a third party to implement it, et cetera. So we're excited about the approach and think that the technologies that we're bringing to market are really helping address some of the customers' biggest concerns.
Right. And I love the idea of sort of as a service. That is something that is of great interest to the sort of the federal sector entities, because it's just to not have to Lego block all that stuff together, so to speak, and just be able to use the capability makes a lot of sense. An interesting angle there. So looking forward to that. So we have Fortinet on here, and some might look at that and say, wait a minute, why do we have a security company on a AI and ML show? And of course, we know why. So why don't you explain that to us and give us a top line state of the state?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is fantastic hearing everybody's perspective on machine learning and AI. As you mentioned, Fortinet is a cybersecurity focused company. We've been around since 2000, AI is not something that we just started doing. We picked up on it about 10 plus years ago. What was happening was when we're deploying so many next gen firewalls and other cybersecurity solutions across the globe, we found that the volume of malware and other threat, data coming in was just not, humanly not possible to handle. So our FortiGuard research labs, they decided to establish a practice where AI and machine learning will be leveraged quite a bit. So to handle that, they started looking at a AI-based solution, which basically gets fed with data from millions of nodes. And that led to Fortinet really bring out a solution called Fortinet Network Detection and Response, basically built in with multiple attack scenarios, billions of known features, millions of malware samples. So taking all that into consideration, now they're able to handle the significant volume of malware, be it business email compromise, be it new and emerging threats, 0 days. So our researchers, rule writers are able to handle that, write rules against that, and update all our solutions that are deployed globally. So that's where we are from an AI and machine learning perspective, leveraging it, pretty much throughout our portfolio and trying to assist and help our customers in the federal government space.
A really important piece of technology. We talk about the needle in the haystack, and we're really talking about needles in a stack of needles here. And I think the only way to deal with the adversary angle is to have things operating at machine speed, no question about that. General, let's go back to you. I can't imagine the volume of data that is being collected every moment across the Air Force and Space Force spectrum. And certainly a lot of this technology is being used to sort of distill that. Why don't you give us an example, if you will, of where you're really trying to focus your attention, maybe a program that you want to highlight here?
Well, indeed, thank you. It is a tremendous challenge, but we see tremendous opportunity in this as well, because as you've heard all the rest of my esteemed colleagues here, we're really focused on the same thing, operationalization of data and AI ML readiness. And that's really for the purpose of driving information advantage and decision advantage. So taking data, driving data-driven decisions, and then having actionable outcomes. And so as we look at the global enterprise view across the Department of the Air Force, certainly we don't have just one significant AI or ML a program. We have a plethora of them, and that's growing almost exponentially. We see data and AI ML readiness and the operationalization of that is critical, almost ubiquitous part of everything that we do, not only now, but as we evolve to the future. Some examples of that would include in the areas of maintenance, looking at predictive and preventative maintenance and the analytics to drive that. As we look at our important training areas, we leverage AI and in doing our scheduling for our air crew and aircraft scheduling. We also use it in the space realm as we look at all the imagery. We look at change detection or space domain awareness. These are hugely intensive areas. Similar to that is intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, where we're collecting a huge amount of information, whether they be imagery or other types of intelligence data content. And so as we look at these writ large, whether it's in the people systems, whether it's in the mission systems, we also look at enhancing and making our airmen and guardian that much more effective. So we do a lot of human machine teaming, and we're working as the application of that into Wingman AI. That's another big initiative for us, as well as collaborative combat aircraft, or CCA. That's the human machine teaming to add to the capabilities in a family of systems approach. So collectively across this broad spectrum, this is an extraordinary time in that we're seeing not only the nascent incredible impacts in a positive way on our missions, but we see this as a time of growth. We're learning at a very rapid pace, and we're also applying that. So I think you've also heard this is part of our broader digital transformation, part of our leveraging the enterprise IT capabilities, leveraging the data savvy workforce, leveraging the AI ML readiness, which really starts with that entire portfolio of capabilities. And so that's what we're totally focused on in the Department of the Air Force.
Sure. We really do appreciate that. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. You've been listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network.